creative people. I'm so excited to be live with you today and to be sharing a very special person in my world with you. She's going to be here any second, so while I wait for her to come on and join this video, I wanted to go ahead and tell you a little bit about her. So Sofia is a teacher. She teaches writers, and I'll just read her bio because off the cuff, not doing so great. Oh, here she is. All right, I'm just waiting for her request. Perfect. All right. So, Sofia Wren helps sensitive people to write for a book or business so that, hey girl,
hey,
I was just giving you a little intro. So Sofia helps sensitive people write for a book or business so that they can serve a wider audience. She has pursued the passion for publishing online and in books for over 20 years. For 10 years, she's run her own business, learning how to sell and connect with writing, and now focuses on entrepreneurs and writers who are ready to hone their skill, reach people they are here to serve, and feel the love. So, welcome. So great to have you here.
hey, thanks for having me. This is fun. I haven't done a live on Instagram with somebody else as far back as I remember. So this is a new experiment for me. This is fun.
Very cool. Well, I always find that it's so much more fun when you can hang out and chat with a friend.
Yeah.
So, and we have a very interesting story. As you do, you become friends with somebody on Facebook a million years ago, and then you're then suddenly for whatever reason, they start popping up in your feed again. You're like, oh, how did we meet? We couldn't figure this out.
Yeah.
And come to discover that we went through this program called Manifestation Masters with this wonderful woman named Jen Mazer, quite a while ago, probably more than a decade ago. So
yeah,
so it's totally wild how the universe kind of brings us back together. So
yeah, that was fun.
Yeah,
you never know. And sometimes you have friends, you get to we were friends in the technical sense on Facebook,
right?
But it was we just kind of were like, oh, hey, maybe this is a good time to connect more deeply and get to know each other better. And I'm just really excited that happened.
Woohoo! I'm all for random connections whenever they happen. So, so Sofia, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about how you became a writer and how you made the transition from being a writer to coaching other writers?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, it's such a long story because it started when I was in middle school is when I had my first blog. And I'm not entirely sure what happened to spark the writing exactly, but I think I spent a lot of time by myself as an only child. And so at the time we didn't have cell phones. So blogging was the only way I could really think to reach out to my friends. I didn't even know of IM back then. It was before AOL Instant Messenger was popular too. So it was my way to talk to my friends, and then I would share about my life. And then I ended up having kind of a hard time as a teenager because just long story short, it was hard, but I had a way to set it to private. So I could be privately talking to my friends about kind of my deepest thoughts and feelings that I would never have been able to talk about in person. And it was a really good outlet just for my mental health to have that. And then at some point I decided, you know what, I'm going to not make it private anymore, but it's going to be not my name. And I looked at it after college. I was keeping this blog and I was looking at how many people actually visited the site. I don't think I ever really paid that much attention to that before, but it was 5,000 people a month. And that was when I was I should maybe take myself a little bit more seriously. Maybe there's a career in this for me. So that was the beginning of me kind of taking myself seriously. I had other jobs at the time, I was doing other things, but that kind of got me thinking. And then eventually, because I had been selling other services, I was doing massage therapy, I was doing tapping, I was doing tarot card readings, I was doing all these things, and I was also sharing my personal stories on my blog, and as well as writing copy to sell these different services and stuff like that. And my writing got the attention of someone who has a marketing agency, and he invited me to be one of the writers on these $10,000 marketing launches that we would do all this copywriting for. So I kind of like, I don't know, it's been a weird journey, but and I've done ghostwriting, and I've done for books, and I've done book editing. One of the books I edited was an international bestseller for several years. And but my passion is really getting other people to write. As much as it was fun to help people by writing for them, I really enjoy collaborating, and I really enjoy helping other people to write, because I know that for me, it connected me. It really, really changed my life to be able to not only write for myself, but also connect to people through that. And just in a very deep healing way that has healed like a lot of traumas and stuff that I've been through. And it's not like it's over. Like we need to be connecting all the time, right?
Yeah.
But I just know that there's somebody for everyone. So there's people out there in the world that like you don't realize are there until maybe you say something first, and then you end up connecting with them because you wrote something. And that's like, you just can't put a price on that. So I love helping people write.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's really great. And it's so cool when your path really has chosen you, and like it sort of comes to you. I think like I often look at that. It's like, where are your early successes? And then what happens sometimes is we'll have an early success, and then we try to turn that into a career. We get very conscious about it. Sometimes things get shut down a little bit, but it's like, oh, right, remember when it was easy, and like to try to tap into that as much as possible is so beautiful.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it took me a long time to kind of own that I was a writer, and it took me a long time to own that I was a writing coach. But yeah, I finally got there. So I know it can take a while.
Cool. So a lot of my audience is actors, writers who are maybe working more on like screenwriting or plays, or I do have all sort of multi-hyphenate sort of entrepreneurs in my audience as well. So how would you relate the kind of writing that you do, and that you do for other people, and also that you coach other people to do for that particular audience?
Yeah, well, there's kind of two ways to look at it. So there's writing for your career, and then there's writing for yourself. So if you have writing you want to do, and it could be, you know, for a play or for a book or for your website, usually it's like nonfiction. You know, if something is completely divorced from your personal experience, then I would consider that fiction. But sometimes there's something in the middle where you're drawing a few details from yourself, a few kernels from the people you've known and the life you've lived, and you're doing something with that in the fiction. So it's not totally black and white, but I'm definitely more on like the nonfiction spectrum in terms of what I'm really good at. But anyway, any of that, when you write from the heart, you kind of cut through a lot of the crap that things like social media kind of encourage us to create. Like things that are kind of forgettable, like that are here today, gone yesterday. And you know, when you're not really tapped into the space of writing from your heart, then it's a lot easier to just sort of be on this hamster wheel where you don't feel a satisfaction that you're doing the best work you can possibly do. You might feel that potential is inside of you, but you feel like I'm always striving, never arriving. And that feeling is really common, especially for writers and for people who have some kind of writing goal. But then if you don't identify as a writer, but you have to have a personal brand for your career, like I think a lot of actors or people who are public people and want to be seen by more people, you can benefit from having a website that has a story about you in the bio, or sharing about your life on social media and things like that. And with the proliferation of like AI generated content and things like that, I feel like today it's never been a better time to be working on your ability to tell personal stories, because I think at a certain point they're the only thing that's ever going to stand out to help you stand out from the crowd. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's really beneficial for your career to be developing your skills at personal storytelling. So and you can end up getting off of the hamster wheel, and you end up being able to tap into a more enduring kind of story to tell, a story that you don't mind telling over and over again, you know? So rather than just trying to think of what can I say today, you're drawing from a richer tapestry that's all woven together, that's kind of coalesced mm-hmm. and part of a bigger whole. And you're like standing for something really deep and true. And that's the kind of story people remember, that you remember, that, you know what I mean? That just it gives you that more satisfied feeling that you've done a better job creating good writing or good story to tell. And that's on the career side. And then on the personal side, the benefit is that we all have our stuff. We all have our feelings and our thoughts and our wants and our needs that are not being satisfied right now, that we feel some kind of way. We're all human. And writing from the heart is just one way to help yourself. And it's usually free or very low cost. And so not as many people utilize it as really could. And then you can end up turning any traumas you have into like post-traumatic growth. And again, connecting to more people, which I think in this age of technology, a lot of people experience loneliness. Even if you have great friends, you could always use a few more or even connect to them in a deeper way. So I think it's really, really important to have that sense of connection, because it's going to make whatever goals you have for your career a lot easier to achieve from that sense of foundation. We don't all have the perfect family that provides that for us out the gate. Sometimes we have to find our family and create that for ourselves.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And that when you share your stories, when people start to relate to that, that is a way of finding your people. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So you've talked a lot about heartfelt writing and writing from the heart. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that means to you?
Yeah, so totally. So for me, I was kind of getting some thoughts before we showed up today. So I'm kind of trusting that whatever I say will be right for the right person who ends up seeing this. But it's kind of a state of being in a way to write from the heart, because people talk about like you can be in your head or you can be in your heart. And I think part of it is that, you know, we have our survival instincts, and when your survival instincts are running, it's in that amygdala. You know, it's not the same as being in your heart, where you can take a breath and you can feel everything but not necessarily spring into action. And it's really important to have that moment where you're just being with it and taking inventory, taking stock, and kind of evaluating your options, because then you can make an empowered choice. So that's what I see writing from the heart helping you to do.
Right.
And first you might, you know, get in touch with those things that because of inconvenience or habit or time you haven't been able to get in touch with. So like the desires, the needs, the feelings, the depths. And again, when I'm talking about the writing process, I'm not necessarily talking about like cracking open your journal and telling everyone about the breakdown you're in the middle of right this second. I'm talking about just you and the page, maybe just taking a moment to take stock of what's really going on. And then when you're also in your heart, you open the door to be able to be really compassionate, both with yourself and then with every part of yourself, including stuff you don't even want to own, and then also with other people, because we are all really the same deep down. But when you're not in self-compassion, you think you're the worst thing ever or whatever, you know, you're not measuring up, you should have prevented the situations you're in. All of this stuff that's the opposite. You know what I mean? And I see it as like a range, like from 0 to 100. Like you might, if you have 2% possibility of self-compassion, like 2% openness to it, that's really all you need, because then you can like maybe write down all the things I just said, like name it, and you can take it with a grain of salt. Like, okay, I see that. I see I'm having these thoughts. Doesn't necessarily mean they're true, but I'm like willing to find a way to feel better about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's like the first kind of stage. And then, like I said, that might not be the time to go blasting to the world everything that's going on, because that wouldn't really necessarily be the most self-compassionate thing, unless it's like, hey, can someone call me? I'm having a bad moment or something like that. Just because if you just copy paste from your journal, people might not understand what you're saying, and then you're going to feel worse. So it's a gray area. It's very complex, kind of, so I'm generalizing, but
Right.
like I like to say that because we talk about authenticity and vulnerability a lot these days, and it kind of seems like it has to be all or nothing. But like the reality is, any good storyteller is eliminating things from the story to draw your attention to where they want you to paying attention, right? Selecting which things to say and which things to not say is really the whole task. So do the same thing with your own life. You know what I mean? To be authentic doesn't mean you have to list 20 million details that happened this week. You would be more selective about it, right? So that's that process, is you take the time for yourself. And in that private time, there's a great quote. It said, like, you need privacy to fall in love. And I think that is the same thing with ourselves. You know, like we kind of need to
Yeah.
have that private space to fall in love with ourselves. And you can still share. I think sharing with someone else is really powerful too. Like if you have a safe person or safe group and like a class or workshop or group community of people that you can trust to hold that
Right.
space for you, hold that compassion for you, and help you to basically co-regulate through whatever you're going on through. And then that helps you determine what would you share with the rest of the world. Like what would you share to a potential employer? What would you share on a website or in a book or something like that? But a lot of people try to skip, and
Yes.
then it doesn't totally work. So I wanted to bring that up because like it is an art, it's not a science, and
Right.
there are all these options that people have they don't realize that they have, and so I think they don't end up really diving in deep.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's such a great point. And I know that I really strive to be very authentic in my posts on social media, but I'm definitely always curating and deciding how much to share and what I'm going to share and even like who I'm going to share it with. You know, there are plenty of times where I'm like, oh, I need to share this with somebody, but this is the close friends button. This is
Yeah,
not like stories with everyone, you know, or this
yeah,
is stories. It's not like something I want to put on my feed and leave there forever. Those are all like really, really great points. Um, well, I know that you have a writing challenge coming up. So do you want to tell people a little bit about your writing challenge and how the challenge can help them get more in tune with writing from their heart?
yeah, I'm excited for the writing challenge. I thought this year my birthday is August 8th, so August 9th we're going to have a writing challenge starting because I really enjoy them. So it's a free challenge. Every day a new prompt comes out for people to write on. And they're kind of more reflective prompts. So it's not like a fiction related prompt or like a prompt to write a poem or something like that. It'll be more like related to you and your life and your feelings and your vision and your ideas and your dreams and things like that. And then it will also have like a private group where you can share whatever you want to share within the space of the private group. Um, and a lot of times people can like uh, share and support each other, and it helps to create that community where you can create connections, and you also can kind of have a little bit of accountability if you're working on trying to create a daily writing practice or you just want to get kind of momentum building. Then that's going to help you with that. And then a lot of people find it unlocks inspiration from the questions and from what comes up and what they end up discovering or what they end up sharing. And I really feel like that process of tapping into your heart, like all of my questions are designed to do, is helping you to tap into that wisdom that you have, that we all have, you know, that's really deep down, that's not coming from the reaction survival place,
Right.
coming from just taking a moment to really kind of ponder or listen or be open. And then you know what to do next. You know what to do next in your life. You know what to do next in your writing. You know what to do next in your career, because you're just in more alignment with yourself. And yeah, it's always amazing to discover what we didn't know that we come up with at the end of the process. So, because we can talk about writing, but it's a little different when you actually do it. Um,
Yes.
the,
Yes. I mean that's so true. I mean, that's really the reality in life. It's like we can spend a lot of time dreaming of things, but if you until you start taking action, you can only really imagine what shape it's going to take. And you know, when I'm writing a project, I definitely have ideas about what I think it's going to be, but when you start writing it, it changes. It constantly changes because there's new inspiration and new ideas and it's kind of meant to change in a way. It's like, you know, if I was trying to write the project that I had in my head when I first got the idea, I would drive myself crazy because, you know, it was just the beginning of an idea. It was like a shell, right? And so, like, of
yeah.
course, you're going to come up with better ideas and figure out how to tie things together as you go along.
Yeah. And it's so cool too, because it's like once you write it down in some fashion, then it's like you duplicated
Yeah.
yourself, you know? So you have a copy of your first idea, but then now you get to do the next version,
Mm-hmm.
giving your edits or giving your expansions and stuff. And you can just continually to evolve like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how else you do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So during the course of this 21-day challenge, would you say that there's a particular theme? Like, are you gearing these prompts towards an end goal or is it very
I
open?
try to keep it pretty open. So the theme is it's a heartfelt writing challenge. I used to call it a sacred writing challenge, but I felt like that means a lot of different things to different people.
Yeah.
For me, it's really about, again, tapping into that wisdom that we all have inside of us, and that's going to look different for every person.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to keep it something that like pretty much anybody could do, and, you know, be a little bit, not try to be too specific, so that way everyone can feel like it's relevant and relatable. Yeah. But then also try to be a little bit unexpected too. I've gotten really good feedback about my prompts in the past, and
Oh, cool.
And so yeah, I really use my intuition when I pull everything together. So sometimes it ends up just being, you know, exactly what was needed. So that's what I hope for.
Yeah. I mean, that's what divine inspiration is all about. Like you know, like the right people in the right group with the right ideas, kind of create something that has a little bit of a mind of its own.
Yes, exactly. So that's what I hope. I hope that it surprises me.
So I know you talked a little bit about the plethora of AI created content out there.
Yes.
And I know you and I have had some private conversations about that as well. So knowing that, you know, we're in this age of AI, are there other reasons other than like to keep this originality and being an individual, other than that, for people to really embrace from the heart, like embrace this writing practice from the heart?
Yeah, well, another part of it is that, you know, we all have physical bodies that have a certain kind of sense orientation, you know, that like a robot doesn't have. And I hope that they don't have that for a while. but at least for the moment, you know, we have the ability to smell coffee and to taste when toast is burnt, and all these things are in our body again, versus being in your head where you could be hungry for hours and never get up because you don't really sense it.
Yeah.
When you're connected from your body and from your senses, you again are missing out on some really powerful things that you could sprinkle into your writing to evoke emotion that will connect with another human being very powerfully. And the thing about, like, whether it's copywriting or storytelling, emotions are so powerful, and they're part of what makes a story really ring true and resonate with people in a way that they remember, because we remember how people make us feel more than we remember anything else. So that is so important. And then the other thing too is that when it comes to the world today, we're so interconnected. It means that you can feel like there's a lot of competition in whatever you're trying to do. You know, there's a million people who have any particular niche or any particular kind of job they want. And we're all connected, and we can kind of see. Before, you might just know somebody in your community, but now you can look online, you can see hundreds of people from all over the world that do the same thing. So your stories, again, are a differentiator, because unless somebody's been walking in your boots your whole life, there's little nuances and things that might not relate to everyone, but they make you stand out. Right. You know what I mean? Like that funny story about how you went fly fishing and then, I don't know, you're in Alaska or something. That could be a thing that somebody remembers you. You know, you just made that little distinction, and you can be surprised. Those little things, like I was telling somebody recently that I'm redoing my bio page on my site to include a story about rocks that I played with when I was a little girl. And I was telling somebody about this because they asked about, what are you writing right now? And they said, wow, like I also played with rocks when I was a kid, and one time I gave a bunch of my favorite rocks to a friend, but they didn't really appreciate it, and maybe they weren't that great of a friend, and then so that was a frowny face experience. And so like now we're talking about like really deep things, when all I began with was talking about rocks. Yeah. You know, so you never know how a little story can spark up a conversation, and like, you know what I'm saying? Because I think there's a lot out there that like we feel like we need to be an expert in something, but like a lot of people are kind of tired of information. Like they're a little bit overwhelmed. Like there's so much available right now, but stories are a lot easier for us to digest. I feel like it just takes less energy for us to absorb them like sponges, and they're entertaining to us. And so like you can teach someone through a story, you can connect to someone about what you're doing through a story, and also just to be remembered in a sea of people, and to be remembered as time goes on. They remember, oh yeah, she made me feel something with that story, and like I'm never gonna forget that lady and that crazy story she told, or whatever. You know, it's special.
Yeah. No, that is so cool. And I love like the randomness of like playing with
Yeah.
rocks. Like that's really amazing. So people who might want to sign up for your challenge, which I'll provide the link for everyone in my bio,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that it's probably also in Sophia's bio. But can you tell us a little bit more? You said it was a prompt a day. Is there any more structure that you provide than that? Or is it really, really open-ended?
Yeah, I also give you a bunch of resources on how to build a habit for your writing. If you're looking to build a habit, I've got like worksheets and kind of tracking sheets that I recommend. I've got a video to explain all that. So I have some resources that everyone gets access to. I'm playing around with the idea of doing a contest, so like TBD on that. And then I'm also planning to do some live videos where we can connect throughout the 21 days. So that's in August. I think about every week, just so that way you don't have to come to all of them. But if you feel like connecting and hopping by and sharing about how it's going, then that'll be more support for you too. And I'm always open to any challenges or any things people want to say. Like I do sometimes just create resources on the fly or recommend other things I've made. Because I've been doing this now for like 10 years. So I've got a lot of different stuff up my sleeve. So yeah, so that's yeah. And when you sign up, basically you will get right now it's like 2 weeks ahead. So you're just gonna be kind of like on the newsletter list. And then when it's going, you basically can decide, do I want to have every prompt emailed to me? You can decide not to. That's fine. Some people will want that, and then you can have that option. Otherwise, I'm going to be sharing it on social media what the prompts are. Yeah.
Cool.
I haven't totally decided where yet, but I will be sharing it different places.
All right, cool. So there's lots of different ways that people can participate. Room for lots of structure if people want lots of structure, and also room for, the drop-in casual user if that's more their speed.
Yes, totally. And I love my drop-in casual people because it's okay to miss days. It's okay to find out about this, like with there being a week left. It's okay to do a couple of days and then not remember about it at all. It's totally fine. I'm just trying to bring positivity, so any amount of it will do for me.
Beautiful. I love that so much, because I think that with our creativity, if we create too much structure around it and we're too strict and firm with it, we often really we kind of destroy our spirit, which is the very thing that we need to be able to do the work. So totally love that.
I call it English teacher trauma, like especially with writing, that we are kind of afraid of that red ink and like you gotta follow the rules. And so there's something about writing that we can get really up in our head about it, but that's really not the point, right? So if it worked to beat ourselves up about not doing something, like it would have worked in the past, like we would be doing it now. So I don't think that really works. And I can be hard on myself, so I like to be extra loving and sparkly and just be like, it's all good. It's fine. If you're out on the beach instead of writing, I mean, go live your life. That's
right.
Cool, Right. If your heart is thinking like, your heart is calling you to pick up a notebook and pen, or like you feel like I could use some support, I could use some love, I could use some clarity, then or I could use writing in my life more, then this is a space for you for free.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and so great to reconnect with you after all this time. And I look forward to hearing more about how you're supporting people in the future. And so to be continued. Yes, to be continued. We're gonna have an interview with you in August. So I'm looking forward to that too. Yeah. Thanks again for having me and introducing me to your people. Absolutely. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks. You too. Okay. See you guys. Bye, everyone.